Hey yo, what's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Jumbo Jandor, or Humbo Hundro, whichever way you decide to call me. At the end of the day, I don't care. We're back at it again with another episode of Brawl and Babble. Today, we're gonna be talking about deep conversations and how to approach them. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting topic for today, but before we start, make sure to go down, hit that subscribe button, support the movement. We're on the come up. If you guys didn't check out my last video, the Zoo York challenge, that one was kind of messed up because copyright, but yeah, go check it out too. It was a banger. But yeah, now that I'm getting more comfortable, like talking into a mic, I'm getting a little more energetic, so get used to that. So before we get on to the topic, of course, we gotta talk about some current news. Can we get a alarm? Current news. Hey, okay. So, of course, gotta talk about my boy George Floyd. R.I.P. to him. Very tragic death, and I'm recording this on a Wednesday, the day after Blackout Tuesday, and I just want to express my thoughts on that for a little bit. And I don't want to drag on this too long because, we got some stuff to talk about. And you'll understand why I don't want to drag it on for too long. But basically, I feel like it was a tragic death. And, like, I'm Afro-Latino, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm a mix of Black and Hispanic, right? And living in America, it's very, I feel a lot of what other Black people say, because people before have called me light skin. Like, I literally look like a light skin, but I feel some of the stuff they've dealt with, like I've dealt with it too, but I have never dealt with as much stuff as they do because I am Hispanic. But yeah, I just think it's very tragic death. But really, what's been going on in the world, man? I don't like to speak out on this because at the end of the day, my opinion won't matter. At the end of the day, I'm not the one that's making the policies. I'm not the one that's changing the policies. Trump, Congress, anyone else that does that, they're the ones that change the policies. And even if I say anything, even if I bring all the attention in the world, at the end of the day, my opinion won't matter, or anything I say won't matter until they say it. So as of right now, my opinion doesn't matter. Soon it will. Future Jumbo Jandor will insert this clip, by the way. Soon I will have an opinion, and I will speak on stuff like this, but for right now it really doesn't matter for me. So that's why, like, I didn't post out like the Blackout Tuesday thing, because I feel like there's already enough people doing it. Like, there's no point in me doing it. So like, I went to two different high schools, right? And so when I see people from my previous high school posting, I see people from my new high school posting, there's really no point in me posting, because the only audience that I'll reach other than those two audiences is my family. And they're already seeing that stuff, so there's no point in me posting stuff like that. But yeah, that's just my take on it. It's just useless for me to speak out on it, because at the end of the day, I don't change policies. And people that be posting stuff like that, they don't change policies. I feel like the only people that should really talk about the topic is people with a large following, like large influencers. If you guys didn't see the Impulsive video, I think it's very powerful. You guys should go watch it. But yeah, only people like that, because once there's already enough attention, if nothing's being done with that much attention, like what is going to happen with even more attention, right? Like, we're seeing like Trump trying to bring in armies and stuff like that, and due to the riots and the looting. But there's already enough attention to it, and if they're not doing anything, I don't really see a point. You know what I'm saying? And you could call me like ignorant. You can call me ignorant all you want, but at the end of the day, we don't change the laws. So even if we bring all the attention to it, we can't make the change. All right, that's done with. Let's get into some more exciting stuff. So I recently did a dopamine detox last Friday. And so, yeah, that's how I got the idea for this video, during my dopamine detox, which I will talk about next week. Next week video, watch out for that one. Yeah, I was just writing down stuff and I came up with this because I'm a guy that likes to talk to people, right? And at my school, there's this thing called dinner dates, just like they sound, right? So like since we live there, it's like a little community, right? And so it's sophomores, juniors, seniors, and so usually the sophomores pick the dates for the juniors, and the juniors usually pick a date for the sophomores, and the seniors do whatever they want, right? And so I was just thinking about this past year, right? And how like I had pretty good deep conversations during these, and I was thinking like how'd I get to it so that I could help people like you guys. But yeah, get ready for the detox video. So it's gonna be very exciting. But yeah, that's how I got to this topic. So first, I want to talk about the definition of a deep conversation. Like what really is a deep conversation? A deep conversation is a conversation, crazy, right? That makes the speakers vulnerable. So like, for example, showing your feelings and your biggest failures. You know, pretty simple stuff. And deep conversations can create good connections between people because you're showing who you really are to the other person. It makes you feel a even deeper connection than just like sharing facts and stuff like that. So what's the big deal with deep conversations? Why are they so important? Because they help you see who someone really is, and the other person, of course, gets to see who you really are because you're sharing your own opinions and your own feelings about stuff, and it creates a connection that not many people create. It creates a connection that could differentiate you from being an acquaintance to being a friend. So before I get over how to reach a deep conversation, I want to talk about the big keys to maintaining a deep conversation while you're in it. A little bit out of order, but I think this is very important to keep in mind. So first key, listen. Listen. I don't know how to emphasize this enough. Listening is very important, especially during a conversation like this in which people are being vulnerable, because it's personal stuff they're talking about, man. You just gotta be respectful, listen to them, especially if it's like a girl. I'm chasing these hundreds, my music different, everyone loves it. I can never fall off into popping, 100 a month, all in my pocket. You want to make sure to pick up every single detail because girls love details, bro. Girls love when you remember small details about them. But yeah, just make sure to listen. They're hearing you, so you might as well hear them. And you might learn a thing or two as they talk as well. So second big key, be vulnerable so they can be too. I don't really know how to explain this one. Yeah, just be vulnerable, man. Get them to be comfortable about sharing their stuff. You be comfortable sharing your stuff so they can become comfortable sharing their stuff. And sometimes you might have to share first, man, because even especially if it's like your first time meeting them, or if you guys are just like acquaintances and you guys are just chilling down talking, they might not be comfortable with sharing stuff like that. But you are, boy. You are. You're watching this channel. You already know what it is out here. We savages. Number 3, you get ready to carry for a little bit. And what I mean by carrying is asking all the questions. Because, especially when you're meeting someone new, or trying to learn something new about someone, most people are just not comfortable like asking questions in the moment. But you know, just get ready to carry for a little bit. And you can't carry for too long. If you end up carrying for too long, then they're not interested, man. They're not interested. But yeah, next one, what is that for? Make sure it flows. Kind of goes along with carry for a little bit. Make sure it flows. Yeah, man. Don't be too spontaneous. Don't go from topic to topic, jumping around all over the place. And to make sure it flows, you can ask questions as they speak, right? So like if they're telling like a story, or even after they finish saying something, if you find something intriguing, you can ask more about it to learn more about them. And make sure you don't like question too much, or like put out your thoughts on what's happening to them too much, because that just takes away from the purpose, because they're trying to share their feelings and stuff like that. I remember Improvement Pill, shout out to them. I already mentioned them in previous episodes. They're cool guys. They mentioned the 90-10 rule when having a deep conversation. You should be listening. They should be speaking 90% of the time when they're sharing their thoughts, and you should be speaking 10% of the time. And that 10% is like asking questions yet again, or getting your thoughts about it, being like, oh, yeah, that's tough, or something like that. Then, next one. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6. Throw some jokes in there, and I would usually recommend like creating inside jokes, right? So like something that happened in their story or something that they're talking about, make fun of them for it. Especially if it's like a girl.
I'm chasing these hundreds, my music different, everyone loves it. I can never fall off into popping, 100 a month, all in my pocket.
It creates a deeper connection. Because when you see them, you'll tell them part of the inside joke, then they'll laugh, and the people around you will be like, huh? And then you guys just have a connection that nobody else around you can get. If you see you see what I'm saying, right? All right. Then we got another one for Improve and Pill. Share, listen, and relate. When having a deep conversation, they said share first in order to make yourself vulnerable so they can be vulnerable too. Then listen, then relate. Relate meaning like share your thoughts on what they said. So like if they said like their political opinion or like their thoughts on a topic, you throw your own like what you think in there, right? For this, I'm not sure I 100% agree with this order because I like to be the one asking the questions and then I share second. And if someone doesn't ask me a question, I don't really like to share because nobody cares. That's how I look at it. But yeah, I usually go listen, share, then relate. Well, listen, relate, share. Yeah, just push it back one. All right. Now that we went over how to maintain like tips at keeping a deep conversation. Oh, I missed a big key. God dang, am I blind or something? Okay, so another big one is don't rush into it. It also goes with make sure it flows, but you can't just rush into it, especially if it's a new person or it's a person that you never like dove deep with. Gotta make sure to take it slow. Slowly get comfortable because I don't know where you're not just gonna be sharing stuff like that with a new person. All right, you gotta get comfortable. You gotta get to know them a little bit. Gotta find out how they think before you reach it. All right. So really, how do you reach a deep conversation? Yeah. So I made like a little map during the detox, which I mentioned earlier. Yeah, I made like a little map on how to reach a deep conversation. So yeah, I'll just give it off to you guys right now. So I titled this "Map to Reach a Deep Conversation During Dinner Date." So I explained what a dinner date is. If you're not, then get your ass back in the video. All right. So first step is starting with a general topic. For example, things like school. So since it's like, yeah, since our dinner dates are done at school, I usually talk about school. Then you talk about a specific part about the topic. So something like classes or teachers. So something like, what's your favorite class? Who's your favorite teacher? Things like that. God, my legs. Then it starts getting a little spicy. Passive their topic, right? So sometimes I like to, like, for example, talking about their old school, or if you're talking about like jobs, like their past jobs, or if you're just meeting someone for the first time, you can talk about like their last date or something like that. And this is where it can go two ways. You may not be able to if you can't go on the past of the topic, then go back up to the beginning, start back up at the general topic. If you can, man, you're getting even closer. So then, after that, you have an opinion-based / important characteristic. And make sure that it stays within the topic, right? That's why you start with a general topic. It's like a funnel. You start really, really, really big, then you funnel it down closer and closer. Why did Siri just turn on, man? Shut the f*** it. All right. So for example, like your major, yeah, or your race / ethnicity, if you want to talk about that. All right. Then boom, just go with the flow and get more personal. I know this is very like general, but It makes sense. So basically, once you get to the opinion based / important characteristic, that's when you reach a deep convo, because they're sharing their feelings about something, and they're sharing about who they are, probably about their past. And then the last step is exchange contact info. You know what I'm saying? Get that number. Okay, now we're gonna run through an example I wrote, and trust me, this has worked for me a couple of times, because I didn't really start having deep conversations till like this year, which is crazy. Sophomore year was a boom. All right, so we're gonna have an example conversation. This is also during the dopamine detox, so get ready for that video, bro. It's gonna be epic. So first question I ask is, how's your experience been at the school? Like, in terms of your experience at that school. That's how I start with, you know what I'm saying? Of course, you gotta come up, meet them, you know what I'm saying? Get their name. But this is the first conversation question I pull up with. Can I get a little water break? My throat's getting kind of dry. Water break. Don't you just love the taste of water? Okay, so make sure to give your thoughts on their answer, the relate part, right? Just say like, oh yeah, me too, or like, well, it's a pretty good place, but I don't really like this and this about it, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Keep the conversation going for a little bit, and then once they should ask you back. If they don't ask you back, you can make the decision to answer or not to answer. Up to you. So then question number 2, I usually go with, what is your favorite and least favorite classes, right? So then you give your thoughts, and then you answer if they ask back. Number 3, where are you from? You know, a little bit about their past and like what they're, okay, here, everything I do is strategic, man, I swear to God. Then you answer. It's a good place to throw in a joke, like if they live in like a small town, you could be like, you live there, I've never heard of that before, blah blah blah. You know, make it a little lighthearted. Or, well, it depends on your character, of course. You can't just be putting on an act. But if you're lighthearted like that and you like jokes, this is a good place to throw it in there. After, you know, give your thoughts, answer the huge. Then you ask, how was your old school? You know what I'm saying, man? Everything I do is strategic, bro. Everything I do is strategic. Then you give your thoughts, and then you answer. So for this answer is special because you want to have like a little outline in order to lead into the next topic, right? So for your answer, you could add something in there about, this is what I wrote, something like, it was a bunch of blank people. So in the blank, you could insert like they're a race of people, or like the type of people they were at your old school, right? And so that'll get you talking about more specific topics about your old school, which is strategic. Number 5, you ask for the race or try to guess it based on the last name and or looks. Yeah, so I'm kind of a beast at guessing stuff like that. So I usually do it by last name. Last 2, I'll have a 2 for 2. I'm God. Then ask based on 4. So the first part about asking for their race or ethnicity really leads into this next part. How was it being the only blank person, right? So that, like, I do it based on race, at least for me, because I think it's really cool to learn about people's backgrounds, and I feel like that's really interesting. So for 4, I would usually answer like, yeah, mine was a school full of white people. That's just an example. It wasn't really, but yeah, that's how I would answer number 4. Then I would ask or guess their ethnicity. Then they would ask it back, and I do a last name analysis. You know what I'm saying? I'm a clean guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So then I asked based on 4. So how was it being the only, I don't know, Hispanic person at your old school? Alex. Ugh. Or like, how was it being with a bunch of blank people? You know what I'm saying? Pretty simple stuff, but it really gets you going. So at number 6, I said, you did it at this point. You shouldn't be carrying, and it should flow well, right? So at this point, you guys should just be talking, and it should just flow. You guys should be asking questions back and forth, learning more about each other, stuff like that. I forgot to give a big tip. Try to keep it one-on-one. Keeps things more personal. Keeps things more engaging. Makes you want to focus on them more, you know? Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, so big keys for deep conversations. Keep it personal, keep it clean, stay clean. Everything you do has to be for a purpose, you know what I'm saying? Keep that plan in the back of your mind. Everything you do's gotta be strategic, you know what I'm saying? Girls are complex machines.
I'm chasing these hundreds, my music different, everyone loves it. I can never fall off into popping, 100 a month, all in my pocket. Bitch, my career took off.
Which I'll talk about later. But yeah, they're complex. Get ready to do some stuff. Yeah, that's it for the video on Deep Conversations. Make sure to follow my Instagram down in the description. If you guys didn't check out my last Brawl Stars and Babble, go check that out. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Humbohandro is out of here. Oh my chicken, out of here.